Alright, you guys have probably seen this turbo bike before, either at the track or this video right here. Now, to get to that video, it took a lot. We learned a lot, ripped our hair out, we spent a lot of time on the internet figuring out why a single cylinder engine wouldn't spool.
Yeah, so I found a actual MIT study done on single cylinder turbocharging, and what the basis of that study was that you had to have a plenum or volume of air after the turbo to make up for the pulses of just a single cylinder pushing into the turbo, instead of like a V8 or inline six, how they have multiple cylinders pushing the turbo along as it goes. So we tried that, and
Well, we 3D printed that,
Yeah.
but there's not a lot of room, so we had it kind of up here above the turbo, so we melted a few.
yeah, we melted a few,
Heat tape.
heat taped, and found some really good resin for the 3D printer, and that kind of worked a little bit.
I think we got a race.
We got a race out of it, and then I had to JB weld it back together. Yeah, and
Yeah.
but that wasn't quite doing it, and then we moved on to a different setup.
Intercooler.
Yeah, an intercooler with some
What do we do?
aluminum piping.
Bought like a nice Chinesium eBay intercooler for like a Honda. And
Yeah.
then we cut it down and made it look like a radiator, and
Yeah,
that still wasn't enough volume, and we don't do we have an intake temperature sensor?
we do have an intake temperature
Yeah.
sensor on these
Yeah,
bikes
we did.
for the ECU.
We did make a little
That still is connected, so we
little
can tell
AEM.
that,
Yeah.
especially with the turbo, because it was.
Forgot we had that.
I think it maxes out at 140 degrees intake temperatures, and it would quickly reach that. So I think it just wasn't flowing. Plus, things getting hot with the turbo sitting right next to the intake. We
When we finally got it to spool that night in that video, it was
upsized the
Upsized.
piping and got rid of the intercooler, but we kept the tubing running all the way
Yeah, we
forward
we
and
did
around the
that.
engine, and that created still enough volume, and it kept the flow up out of the turbo. So the intercooler probably wasn't the best designed one on the market, so it probably wasn't flowing enough.
Yeah, and our beautiful welds probably were sealing
Yeah,
not the best.
yeah.
But yeah, once we did that
We got
on the dyno, which we can show you a video, what we made about 10 pounds of boosts.
I think at times it would show 12 pounds of boost. We have a little boost gauge right up at the handlebars.
It's kind of
It's kind of raggedy, but
did one too many jumps on it.
yeah, it's
Eventually broke,
yeah.
but
But
we'll make another one.
got 12 pounds of boost, but over a certain RPM, no matter what, we couldn't make any more power. It just kind of stabilized or fell off.
Yeah, and that was that because of fueling issues or volume or
It could be a couple of things. The first thing I think we're gonna try to attack is we had a high compression piston in there. It was a 136 bore, and it was 13.2 to 1.
yeah, which will show you the differences. Stock, what was actually in the turbo bike, which 13 to 1 is a lot
Yeah.
of compression for turbo, and then
Now we're gonna have
11 to 1
which is
our piston big bore kit that we designed for this bike. That's never ran it, and we've been producing and selling the kits for a year or two now.
yeah,
So it's exciting to finally put it in and see what it does.
yeah.
Big delay.
And yeah, with the lower compression, we'll have more exhaust gases flowing out, which should spool the turbo. Would like to see 20 to 22 psi eventually. We've also kind of got a thicker base gasket on there, and bumped it down to probably like a
Two base gaskets.
yeah, like a 10.5 to 1 possibly area, and then with the bigger valves that are in there, that'll jump it down to like a 10 to 1, which is pretty much perfect for any turbo application on any engine.
Yeah.
That we've, is what we've learned. So it should work pretty good there. And then the other issue we had was fueling. No matter how big of an injector I put in, it didn't change the air fuel ratios after a certain RPM. So after we test out this piston, we're gonna most likely need to put a aftermarket fuel pressure regulator in there and bump up the fuel pressure or make it boost referenced, which is as the PSI to boost goes up, the fuel pressure goes up.
And we need to find that on a micro scale.
Yeah, and most of those are meant for cars which have big engine bays, and
Yeah.
there's not much room there.
Have much. Our whole goal the whole time has been able to take our side plastic, put it on, and hide the turbo. That way we can actually ride the bike and have fun and not have it all sticking out.
Yeah.
We wanted it to seem like it came from the factory that way a little bit,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
At one point we had a cheap, like, metal screened paper element filter on there that just let a bunch of dirt in.
oh yeah, then we figured out how to fit a pod filter with the outerwear on it.
Yeah, now we have a foam filter on there, and we CNC machined an adapter setup for that, so
Yeah.
it still fits behind the number
Coupler.
plate, and that made it to where we have some clean air going into the engine.
Easily serviceable, and it lasted the last race that we raced this in 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago, and then that race we actually ended up, after over 100 hours on it and countless dyno runs, we ended up not finishing the race because of
Clutch.
the clutch. We finally
Found,
wore out the clutch.
which it didn't explode. It didn't
No, it just wore the
wore the fibers and
wore
parts
the
out.
wore it out, and
Yeah,
took it
that's-
apart, threw
clutch.
some new stuff in.
we designed to kind of hold the power of this bike, and then we started
Yeah,
slowly making them and selling them, which take a good amount to build in house, but
yeah,
I think today we're finally gonna start putting this bike back together, right?
yep. We're gonna put the engine in, and
Figure out what parts we've been stealing off of it the past
yeah,
year or two. Forgot the ignition. We stole the ignition switch off of it. We looked while we were putting it on the lift. There's no spark plug boot. I don't even know why we took that off. But I know the rear shock. I think we blew out the last time we were riding it.
actually, yeah. I mean, that blew out before we even rode it.
Yeah.
Um,
And so that's something we gotta fix. For some reason there's a bent front spoke, and I don't know why. I think the bike fell off the lift one time. Remember that a while back?
yeah, I do remember that.
I don't know if that's when the spoke bent, because we didn't ride on these wheels a lot, and the reason we have these wheels is because we tacoed a wheel.
Yeah.
Well, Sean tacoed it,
Yeah.
and then I just rode it a couple times after.
Originally, I rode this bike quite a bit, and
We're pretty hard on stuff.
kind of neglected the maintenance on the wheels. And
Yeah.
at one point, I was riding around a buddy's track, and I had to stop and hand tighten all the spokes on the rear wheel. That because it was moving around quite a bit.
Normal maintenance.
Yeah.
Normal maintenance
Yeah.
stuff while you're riding. So you may see 2 gas tanks. We're running this bike on E85.
Mm-hmm.
This gas tank, we let the 85 sit a very long time. Just a little bit, no lube in it, no nothing. We
Mhm.
popped it open, looked at the fuel pump, it's all corroded.
Yeah.
So, found a nice unit off of eBay. Seems clean on the inside, so we're gonna slap it on and run it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty excited about that because they were very expensive
Yeah.
to buy OEM right from the dealer. So, thank God somebody had one on eBay for purchase. I guess, so who knows why they parted the bike out, but it helped us out a lot. So I think we'll try to get this engine in, maybe get the bike fired up, and what we can, see what other bugs and stuff are left from it sitting for a while, and maybe this video or possibly the next video we can have it on the dyno making snail noises.
Yeah.
We gotta tell them the name.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we came up with a name for it, and it's
I can.
Well, he came up with a name.
Yeah. So remember the old. Careful. You remember the old Honda Mini Trails? Well, this is the Honda Snail Trail. We're gonna have a snail turbo graphics eventually, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Kind of need the bike to run right first.
I'll take you guys over to the engine, kind of went over everything, but show you a little bit of stuff on it, and then we'll work on putting her back in and bolting her up, kind of showing you some different things, how we figured out to get these engines in and out, and we'll show you how we also figured out how to fit that turbo where the airbox used to be. So let's get to it.
Alright.
Alright, so here's the engine. Typical, nothing fancy, still a little dirty, but on the inside, that's where the magic is right now. So we'll start from the bottom and we'll go up. Bottom end, completely stock. This crankshaft has a lot of hours on it, but everything's spec'd out good. So we're gonna keep running it. It's a Honda. These things last forever. I've never had a Honda bottom end cause me any issues. Working on old 80s, anything, they always fire right up. Now we do on the clutch, we have our upgraded clutch in there and our lightened oil spinner, which is required when you put our clutch in. Gives a little bit nicer free rev, which is kind of good, keep the turbo spooled up. Now we have our big bore cylinder on here. Probably see right in here, doesn't say Honda, it says rad or 124 that it would normally say. This head was ported by our buddy Pat Sanford, right? Max Sanford's dad, Supercross guy. He did an amazing job porting the head for us and doing bigger valves and making sure the seats were cut. What did he 3-angle, 5-angle valve job? What did he?
I don't quite remember. It's been a while.
Beautiful valve job though.
Yeah.
Then we went with a couple different camshaft setups. We're gonna try, because it's a pretty big camshaft from TB Parts, they're 2.5 camshaft. It is measured out larger than some of the custom ones that we've gotten made and done and used. So we're gonna try that one out. Now, something that you may see different, this little guy. This little guy, that would be our oil port going to feed the turbo, which is kind of right here on the bike. We found, take that bolt out, we threaded this little piece in, put an AN fitting on there. We originally ran clear hose to make sure the concept worked, and it did. Oil flowed great, never had oiling issues with the turbo at all. You can kind of see here is where that tube goes and comes down, ends up about right here on the bike. Now, it's our outerwear filter we were talking about earlier. This guy is our drain, which we had a clear hose. This kind of, the only thing that really sticks out on the bike, But you don't really notice it at all when you're riding it because pegs stick out pretty far. They're not bolted right directly on the frame. They kind of stick out good. So that goes right to where you fill the oil up, your dipstick. We put an AN fitting right there where the dipstick would go. Drains the oil down from the bottom, and that's how we figured that out. Mounting of the turbo, we were able to actually, it's on this side of the bike. Right, you could probably see right here, there's an airbox bolt. So, took that out, and it actually bolted right up to the exhaust manifold bolt and allowed the turbo to set right where we needed it. And right now it's a little wobbly and loose, but once we bolt up the rest of the exhaust, it holds it pretty well. You can kind of see it is hidden right in there. We ended up making our own header that was a little bit fatter, cut down a couple exhaust pipes, made that, destroyed the rat. There's a special way to kind of get this wiggled in there. It goes right up, connects there. Something that we ran into since we said, yeah, we did blow this shock out. We went to change go back to a stock shock. Stock shock won't fit the way everything's mounted. I think the stock shock, the spring is kind of flopped and runs into this. It's very tight fit. Something else, Sean 3D printed this boot, and he has a little standoff there. That's our intake tips. Something that I created was the battery. We didn't have a lot of room. I had this anti-gravity battery for another bike. We stole it out of it, and I made a little box for it to fit in, and we wrapped a little bit of exhaust wrap in there to kind of take up the difference, add a little padding, take a little heat away, and it's really close. I think it does hit, but that's the ground side, so it doesn't really matter. It just helps out. And since there wasn't a air box there, it kind of acts as a, keep the mud from going all up in there. I had to make a little plate just to act as a mud flap, really. And that was painted very nice. Guess we'll try to powder coat it or Cerakote it next, make it last a little bit longer. Oh yeah, this is a Amazon $100, was it max speed turbo, and it's lasted, done great. We don't know what the wastegate's set at, and let's get to putting the engine back in. Something else I forgot, before we put the engine in, I wanted to go over the pistons. So this is OEM cast piston, has a good amount of hours on it, looks great. Honda does a great job. It is a great piston, just doesn't have the volume that we need. Now this is what was in the bike while we were doing all that testing. This is a Wiseco high comp 13.5 to 1. Right?
13.2 to 1.
13.2 to 1. I think it kind of measures out 136 range. Great piston. a lot of detonation on this. A lot of detonation. And it looks great. Held up very well. The bottom side, amazing. The skirt coating, amazing. Hopefully the rain isn't too loud on the metal roof. Now to this beauty. This is our Wiseco 11-to-1. You can notice the height of the domes a lot less. A little bit more flat. Hardened, anodized, skirt coating, rad logo. A little bit bigger in diameter, making it a true 143cc. Great piston. Okay, we got the engine in. It was a little bit more difficult because I think the bike, it's sitting for a year or so without an engine in it. Made the frame flex a little. So bolts weren't lining up as good. But we flexed it back and got it all in. Now it's time for our sweet custom header to go on, and then get some of this intercooler piping that you can see on the other side here. Comes out, route it up, down, and around. Comes through, back into the intake. So, see if Sean remembers this struggle. Gotta like wiggle it through the frame, kind of wonky. Oh. Looks like he's losing.
It's been a little bit.
Been a year or so. Oh,
Getting somewhere now.
maybe.
Maybe.
There you go.
Ooh.
like a glove. Alright, we got everything hooked up. Got our intake piping all back on. Kind of wobbles around a little bit. Header on, of course. Gasket. Everything's bolted. O2 sensors in. All our wiring's tucked away. Then on this side, we had that electrical tape because I think Sean was rubbing his boot real bad on that, making a hole in it. And I took the air filter off. I think it'll spin still. Maybe spray some WD in there. But yeah, now we just need to load a file in. Sean's cooking up something.
Alright, loading the tune on. See how that works.
See, start.
See if it'll start. Not right now.
Hit the button.
No.
Button.
No. Unless you want to break it.
All right, it's time.
Let's see how she does.
Oh. Almost. She's back. I can't hear.
Huh?
What?
Gotta work on the idle a little bit, but I think I remember that being a problem. But
yeah. Got her running again. Okay, engine's in now. We got to ride it. Test it out a little bit. Sean saw some different, I guess, numbers that wasn't ideal, but good.
yeah.
Good results, and to where I guess going with lower compression, bigger cam to push that air,
Yeah. It's,
more volume.
it's building boost sooner now.
Building,
and,
yeah.
Making it really lean.
Yeah. What was it?
It was, well, the thing maxes out at 30 to 1. It was maxed out at that at certain points. But
Yeah, not good.
No.
On air fuel ratio.
no detonation. It's not going to hurt the engine for
Yeah.
a short period of time.
Yeah, so I think we're moving in the right direction on it. We got a lot more room with tuning now with this setup, and we're excited to throw it up on the dyno. So next video you'll see we got to get the street tire on it. I believe I have one somewhere laying around somewhere. Load it up, start figuring out the setup, and hopefully we're good from here, and we can just probably after this break it back down, make it look pretty, and start racing it again. So
That'd be nice.
yeah, we'll see. Knock some rust off. Maybe have to work out again, get back into racing. But yeah, so we'll see you guys in the next video. Can't wait. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.